Good afternoon, Louisiana, and welcome to Bayou Bets for Monday, May the 9th. Zach Ewing with Jim Derry and Spencer the Guru Urquhart here with you for Bayou Bets, brought to you by Caesars Sportsbook and brought to you today by Tulane Doctors. We appreciate all of their sponsorship. And guys, we had a wild weekend. Kentucky Derby, we were talking about the fight at the end of the NASCAR race. Like, there's something in the air, I guess.
It's crazy. I mean, I know what's going on, and we were just talking about out there. We got flopping in the NBA. We never talked about that part. We got horses wanting to bite the other horse. We got
Chris Paul's mom getting attacked in the stands. Like,
I mean,
the nut fans at it again.
Where's the Mother's Day love? I just want to know what happened. What's going on? It was friendly at my house.
I don't know. Anyway, before we get started, I do want to mention a couple of things. We are brought to you by Tulane Doctors, innovative research, inspired patient care. Visit TulaneDoctors.com. And also by Caesars Sportsbook, and like to invite you to sign up for the Caesars Sportsbook if you haven't already. You can go to NOLA.com/Caesars, and if you use that promo code at NOLA.com/Caesars, your first bet insured all the way up to $1,100. So you take a shot on an NBA playoff bet or a Major League Baseball bet tonight. If it doesn't work out, you get all that money back in your account. You can bet it again. So pretty good deal there for new users. Go to NOLA.com/Caesars. Also excited to say in a few minutes, we're going to be joined by Mikie Mahtook on this show, former LSU star, former major leaguer who just recently retired. He's starting his own show. We'll talk to him about that. And we'll have some, we'll talk a lot of baseball today. But I did want to start with the Derby, guys. Of course, as we all know, Rich Strike, the 80-1 shot, won the Kentucky Derby. An upset really unlike anything anybody's ever seen. The only time anything like this has ever happened in the Derby was back in 1913, before anybody was alive. And you see the number there, number 21. Well, there's only 20 stalls in the race, so he was an alternate. He wasn't even supposed to be in the race. And like the announcers didn't even say his name until the end of the race, until he won. Like nobody knew he was in the race until he won the race.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry. I never heard of the horse. I mean, all the prepping we did with Jeff Duncan, and I actually spent a lot of time, then ended up not betting because I don't know. I didn't want to go through the whole rigmarole of what I had to do to get the app on my phone. We'll talk about that at another point. But I'm kind of glad I didn't bet because obviously I didn't have 21 and any of my bets. Our experts did nail down the other two horses that were in there. We talked a lot about Center and Zandon, but hey, I mean, every once in a while you get it. The thing is, if you just hit one of these in your lifetime, you're going to be ahead, right? 80-1. I mean, our grandparents did it. They hit it back in 1913, and they're ahead too.
Yeah, I guess so. Our grandparents weren't even alive in 1913. Mine were a year old in 1913, but they're no longer with us. So
mine were 11. So I think you could back then. You could bet when you were 11 in 1913.
Probably so. So I have to bring something up. You guys have, I'm sure, seen the overhead video of the end of the race, which is incredible to see where Rich Strike was way, way back. And you see the prices there. Like he comes from, not only was he an underdog, with a half mile to go, he was buried in this race. He was in traffic. He was way back. I mean, even a favorite in that position, you'd be like, well, look, it's not his day. So he puts on the jets like that, showing speed he's never shown before. And then as we were talking about before the show, afterward, he's like nipping at the outrider. He like won't stop biting the filly who's got the outrider, trying to take him, almost bucked the outrider right, or the steward right off the outrider. I hate to accuse anybody of anything, but this being horse racing, it's kind of strange behavior from a horse who had never run that fast and then was clearly agitated afterward.
I'm going to let Spence answer this one. I will say the first thing that my son said when he crossed the finish line and then that was happening, he goes, man, what kind of cocaine did they give that horse? I'm just saying.
Oh, he was wired up. He was just wired up on adrenaline, and it was just like an overload probably. And it just, I mean, horses, it's an animal. They do what they want. Sometimes you can't stop them. And yeah, he lost it there. About the betting side, though, I'm glad I didn't bet because I was all in with Epicenter. I wanted to bet, but with the apps, I couldn't get either of those apps to work that do horse racing. So I didn't get to bet, but I'm glad I didn't because I was going to put something on Epicenter to win. And he had it won, man. He had it won. Rich Strike had other plans.
Yeah, that was the thing. Is it was shaping up as a classic duel between the two horses who had sort of traded places as favorites throughout the week, Epicenter and Zandon, and then out of nowhere comes Rich Strike, and Spencer says he was just on good old fashioned adrenaline. So I'll go with that. That's a very innocent viewpoint there, Spencer.
Would you be surprised, Zach, if that horse doesn't run in the Belmont?
Not at all.
I'm not.
Not at all. I think he'll run in the Preakness, just because why not? But I
always get the order. I always get the order mixed up. But the next,
I think he'll get buried in the Preakness, and then he'll say, slight forearm tightness in this horse. We're going to hold him out as a precaution, something like that. I mean, foreleg.
I'm not accusing anyone of anything, but if that horse mysteriously disappears soon, I probably wouldn't be surprised. I'll say that.
They have this. I can't remember what it's called. I'm no horse racing expert, but they have a rating that they use to measure the horse's speed, and anything over 100 is like elite. Like you're gonna, you can win Triple Crown races. And Rich Strike was well over 100 in this race. The highest he had ever been recorded at in any other race in his lifetime was like 68. Or I'm getting these numbers a little bit wrong, but that's close to what it was. I mean, it was like a full 50% higher than anything he'd ever done before. Things that make you go, That's all I'll say. That's all.
We're not accusing anyone of anything. We're just saying it's a little strange. And the horse had lost. The horse had lost all 5 races that it had run in, and all of a sudden, it's the fastest horse that's ever lived, or one of them.
Yeah, it's a little strange. It's a little strange. Speaking of things that were a little strange, the number 1 seeds in the NBA playoffs both lost both games this weekend. They lost on Friday and they lost yesterday. And so now both of those series, Miami, Philadelphia in the East, Phoenix and Dallas in the West, are both knotted up. They're now best of 3 series. Depending on what happens tonight, all 4 series could be 2-2. So what's your take on the NBA playoffs right now, Spencer?
Yeah, it's getting to be really interesting here, especially with that Celtics-Bucks series. I think that one's going to go 7. Got the Celtics tonight as a top play for best bets. I feel pretty good about them. Jason Tatum should bounce back after he had a rough game 3, and they still almost won. So assuming he bounces back, I think they'll be able to even things up. But then the Warriors-Grizzlies series, that's a different story. With Ja Morant banged up, it's going to be they don't have a chance. I don't think they really have much of a chance here. They could maybe cover it in this one if things go right for them, but I think Golden State's going to win the next 2 and end it early.
I will say the Grizzlies, and I've been saying this for a while, Ja Morant, obviously a very exciting player, very good young player. The Grizzlies have a better record without him this year than they have with him.
They played just
doesn't mean they're going to win tonight. But Memphis is no pushover without it.
This is a perfect example of overreaction and a perfect time to bet Memphis. Now, I'll probably look like a fool for saying this, but it's the time when I don't even need to look. I don't look at analytics when I get a spot like this. You're giving a team like Memphis that is, like you said, they played fine without Ja Morant when they've had to. I think they'll be more focused tonight. I think it's going to be a good game, and I certainly like the spread. I'll probably even put a couple bucks. You get them plus 400 on Memphis at Caesars to on the money line. I'm gonna put a couple bucks on that, but I'm definitely betting on Memphis with the spread. It's the perfect example of everybody's gonna be jumping all over Golden State. The line may move up. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to like 11 before the game starts, because I think you're gonna have most of the tickets. Maybe not the money, because the sharps are pretty good about stuff like this, but I think you're going to have a majority of the tickets on Golden State.
Let's take a look at the series prices here because it is interesting. If you like Memphis tonight, they're plus 650 to win the series. Of course, if they win tonight, it becomes a best of 3 like the other series where they would have home court. So I don't hate that. I don't know that I think Memphis is going to win the series. If you're looking at 50-50, but I think there's some decent value there. And I'll just look. I'm not going to get off the train now. I think there's value in the Celtics too. The Celtics should have won that game on Saturday.
You don't think that.
They had some bad luck in that game on Saturday. A couple of calls that went against him in the last minute. I mean, look, Giannis has to be Superman for Milwaukee to win those games, and maybe he can 7 times. I mean, maybe he can, or I guess 4 times. But I still think if you're getting plus money on Boston, you could do a lot worse.
I'll tell you what is value, and I think there's fantastic value, and I haven't said this in a while with these series lists. I think there is tremendous value on Phoenix at -2. I mean, they're plus 275 to win the title. I think that here's another case of overreaction. Yes, the Mavs have played well in their home venue against the Suns. They played with attitude, great. But they got a ton of help from the officials in game number, 4? I mean, a ton of help. I mean, I don't know what the deal was with. We all like to. I'm sure Pels fans were enjoying how they would treat Chris Paul, and I think every time he breathed on anyone from the other team, they were calling a foul. I told my son, I said, as soon as he comes back, he had 5 fouls. It is set out. I said, as soon as he comes, and it was the same official. The same official kept calling the fouls on Chris Paul. I said, as soon as he comes back in, he'll be gone within 2 minutes. I don't care what happens. They'll find a way to get him out of there, and they did. And so I just think that this is an overreaction. I think Phoenix is going to win this series, and I actually think they're going to win it fairly easily. We talked about how dominant they were over Dallas in the first, I think 9 games in a row they had defeated them. I think when they go back to Phoenix, it's going to be a whitewash. Even if Dallas finds a way to win in Dallas in Game 6, which I don't think they will, I think that Phoenix wins this series, and whether it's in 6 games or 7 games, and I think Game 5 is going to be a whitewash. Zach, your mic's off. You're muted.
I'm muted. See, I got these kids in my house. I'm trying to keep them quiet. You were watching
because you're wearing that
Bayou Bets on bet.NOLA.com, and we are pleased to bring in now Mikie Mahtook, former LSU baseball star, former major leaguer, very recent former major leaguer. Mikie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me. Sorry, I had a little technical difficulties, but I got in here.
No problem at all. We're happy to have you. And by the way, your reputation precedes you. We had a comment early on that you hit the longest home run that Uncle Big Nick's ever seen at Alec Box Stadium. So I don't know exactly. You may know which one he's referring to.
I do, but they didn't. Unfortunately, we didn't have the technology at the time. That makes me feel a lot older than I actually am. But we didn't have the StatCast or the measurements to have it. But I hit over the scoreboard, so it was nice. It was a good one.
Now wait a minute. You were there when they moved to the new stadium, right?
First year, yeah. So that was my freshman year. That's when we won the World Series.
Okay, yeah, that's right. So you did not play in the old one, yeah.
We had fall practice of my first fall in old stadium, but that was it. No real games.
All right. Well, the new one's nice.
New one's very nice.
Jim's old. He misses the old one.
They have some upgrades coming, I think, to make it a little more fan friendly. Hey, like the old one had the mystique and it had the a little bit more energy because the crowd was right on top of you. But it was needed. A new stadium was definitely needed.
Mikie, I'm so old that when I went to LSU, the old stadium was new. So that's how old
I am. Sorry, age is just a number. It's about how you feel, right?
That's right. That's right. And I feel great.
There you go.
Well, Mikie, we want to have you on to talk a lot of different things. In fact, we're going to ask you about this strange Kentucky Derby in a minute and what your thoughts on it were. But first, tell the people your story. Just recently retired from Major League Baseball, and what are you up to now?
Well, I don't like to use the R word. I don't really say retire.
On hiatus. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm on hiatus. So it wasn't by choice. I got drafted in 2011 at LSU in the first round from Tampa Bay. I made my debut with the Rays in 2015 in the big leagues, and then I got traded after the 2016 season to Detroit. Played 3 seasons with Detroit, and then I was a free agent, and then I got caught up in the middle of all the COVID lockout mess, and towards like the middle of the my 29, my 30, 31, 32-year-old years. And nowadays, it used to be the prime of your athletic career. Now they don't really like having players that old playing for some reason. I don't know. But I feel like I was playing the best baseball of my career. I had played AAA last year with the White Sox at 26 home runs. Had a great season. Was expecting to have a pretty good, time as a free agent, and it just didn't work out that way with the lockout and all the things like that. So, I'm still technically working out and training just in case, but yeah, sometimes the phone just stops ringing, and you take it as it comes, and you just go with it. You can't really dwell too much on it. But I'm enjoying my time at home. It's the first time I've been able to have really a summer or spring back in Louisiana. So I'm doing that, and I started a podcast / YouTube show. It's called Mic'd Up with a K, not a C. And we go live Mondays and Wednesdays from 11 to 1, and then live Fridays from Uncle Earl's Bar in Baton Rouge from 4:30 to 6. We're probably going to have a little bit of a time change. We're in the middle of a negotiations with Caesars to become the sportsbook of us. So if that's the case, then we're probably going to be a little bit of a later time, which actually is beneficial for me because I've been making my money on live bets, and I'll be able to live bet a lot more on the show, which will be a lot more fun.
See, he's gonna fit right in, guys.
Hey, look, if you can help me to win money on the actual picks without having me watch every game and to bet during the game, then I'm perfectly okay with that.
Hey, you follow our daily best bets. They've been on fire lately. But
I'm gonna need to. I'm gonna start running with y'all's bets.
Mikey, follow them as long as they don't say buy Zach Ewing at the top. any of the other guys that write them, you're doing good. But as long as it says one of the other guys, you're doing real well.
I'll keep that in mind.
All I'm saying is, man, that was a shooting foul on Saturday. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you on that. I was yelling at the screen because I had that money line, and then I had to bet live bet, so I ended up making my money back. But yes, I believe that I agree with you. That was a shooting foul.
All right, we want to get to some baseball, but first, your thoughts on the Derby. We were talking about this. You can't really live bet that, but I assume you were watching.
I was watching. I did not have any money on the Derby, which, I'm probably happy that I didn't now looking back at it. I'm glad that I avoided that. It was probably – so I was actually talking about this today before the show this is the first time I've actually got to watch the Derby from start to finish. Now, to know it's a quick hitter, but usually I'm getting ready to go play for a baseball game. So in the clubhouse, everybody, picks a horse out of a hat, and you put down money and you try to figure out who's going to win. And you can't really watch it. So you have to get the results from the trainer, or if they put it on the scoreboard or whatever. So this is the first time I actually was able to sit down and watch it. And it was electric. I mean, it was, I didn't really have a dog in the fight or a horse in the race, but I was watching it, and obviously was it the Louisiana horse? What's his name? The guy who won the Louisiana Derby. The first one. Epicenter was the favorite, right? So I thought everybody obviously thought he won. Then all of a sudden, this 80-1 odds comes out of nowhere, weaving through traffic, and ends up taking. I mean, it was unbelievable. It was crazy. I wish I'd have known. Wish I had Back to the Future Sports Almanac and able to
great sports almanac, man.
Yeah.
By the way, this is a total aside, but you can buy Back to the Future action figures at Target. I just discovered this. They're like $20 each, but the Biff one comes with a gray sports almanac.
Wow.
And so I'm like, I might buy it just so I have just as a good luck charm.
You should.
I don't know. But Mikey, what do you think? Okay, yes, that's right. Just finishing the first coat right now, Mr. McFly. I don't know if this comment's all going to fit, but this is what we were kind of talking about before you came on the air. Charles Walton says, well, what gave the horse the time of last minute run? Like a battery hit the leg. The horse was foaming at the mouth. He's biting the outrider. Like, if you've never watched the Derby from start to finish, maybe you don't like that was strange behavior from that horse.
Absolutely.
Do you buy into conspiracy theories? I mean, are we looking at, in a week that horse failed a drug test and everybody's going to be talking about the bets that they should have won?
Look, there's some conspiracy theories that I can buy into. I don't buy into all of them, so I don't want to buy into this one because I think it's a great story. My producer Lloyd, who produces my show, is all about conspiracy theories, so he'd be all about this. But I just think that these horses are so young. And look, I'm a newly educated horse racing. I don't even call myself a guru. I'm just a fan of it, but I don't know much about it.
Aficionado. Call yourself an aficionado.
There you go. So what I was under the impression that the Kentucky Derby is like the who's who of horses, right? I didn't know that there's 3-year-olds aren't really the prime of the horse's racing career. I didn't know that. So these horses are young. They're starting to kind of figure themselves out. And I want to believe that this horse just kind of figured it out and they put himself in this competition and he got competitive and he figured it out and just kept going. I want to believe that. I don't want to believe in the other stuff.
That horse has heart. Maybe artificially enlarged heart.
Maybe not in a week, but yeah, for now it's hard.
You're right. Maybe not. But you know what? If that happens, we'll revisit this conversation. If not, then this is a good story. Yeah.
I saw the early line for the Preakness. He was he's 5-1 for the Preakness.
He's the third favorite.
So I mean, maybe they think he's going to get the same juice. I don't know.
I don't know how he goes from 80 to 1 as an alternate to third favorite in the Preakness. But what do I know?
I want to bring Spencer the Guru in here. Spencer's a Lafayette boy like yourself, Mikey.
Yeah, 337 represent, baby.
Oh yes, sir. So, yeah, Mikey, I had a question for you about with betting on baseball. How do you like to approach it? Because they got the run lines and of course just the money line. Where do you usually go when looking at a baseball game?
So I'm a new baseball bettor because obviously I didn't want to Pete Rose this thing and I didn't want to bet until I felt like I was officially done. But for me, the way baseball is going and the way, the future of baseball, I guess, is starting pitchers don't go really deep into games. So I like to bet the first 5 of the games because those are a little bit more predictable than the back half. Bullpens are kind of taking over the pitching staffs of baseball. And even in college baseball, watch LSU. Their bullpen comes in really early in the game and kind of takes care of, the extended innings. So for me, I look at basically the matchups and I look at the bullpens and I kind of go with the first 5 of most of those games. That's kind of been, what I've been doing lately. Like I said, I'm a new baseball bettor because I had to wait until I was officially done to be able to do it.
For sure. Yeah, as a buddy of mine that said he's been on a hot streak doing the first 5 innings thing. So yeah, that's something I'll definitely have to start looking into.
Yeah, it's just baseball's so unpredictable, especially with the pitching staffs. You don't know what managers. Honestly, I would study a lot of the managers because a lot of the managers have different philosophies. If it's a little more old school, he'll let the pitcher continue to go and get extended innings. And if he's a new school manager, he's probably not going to get to the third time through the lineup unless he's, one of the better pitchers in the league. So, you can kind of tell going in and the philosophy of the pitching of the staff and the philosophy of the manager.
Big picture, Mikey. Your feeling on the major league season so far? Obviously, the big market teams. You look at this list: LA, New York, all doing real well. The other story is the deadened baseball. Balls aren't flying as far.
Oh yeah.
What are your impressions so far in the first month?
For me, it's like I don't understand how Major League Baseball. First of all, Major League Baseball. And I'm not you're going to conspiracy theories. I'm not being a conspiracy theorist right now, but Major League Baseball bought Rawlings. Rawlings is the baseball that they use for the field of play, right? And when you have pitchers complaining and hitters complaining, then there's something seriously wrong with the baseball. And, when you have guys hitting balls at, exit velocities of 100 plus miles an hour and all these launch angles and these balls aren't going over the fence, I think that's an issue. Now, from what I've been told and the guys that I've talked to it's not necessarily that all the balls are bad. They're just very inconsistent. You don't know, you're not getting the same type of baseball game in and game out. And I don't see how that,
which is worse. That's worse.
I don't see how you can't figure that out. You have, they have the humidor, they put all the balls in the same type of thing. So you don't have, different climates aren't affecting the way the balls come out, the way the balls are before the game starts, right? I'm all for that. But you have to figure out how to make the ball more uniform. Some balls are slicker than others. Some balls are more juice than others. It's I don't understand how they haven't figured that thing out. And it's a real issue. And now they're doing the grip stuff, and you can't have any of the sticky stuff. Which, listen, I'm all for having something to help grip the baseball. Now, when it changes the type of pitch that you're throwing, like if you have the spider tack stuff that's very sticky, and it creates more of a spin and creates more break on the breaking balls and allows the pitch to be something that it's not, that's not fair. But if you have the old rosin and sunscreen that give you a little bit extra tack so that you have control of the baseball, I think that's fine with me. I'd rather not get hit in the head with 100. I'd rather you just be able to have a little more control with that.
Have you noticed, were you able to handle these baseballs at all? Obviously not playing this year, but have you been able to handle them at all and tell any difference yourself?
Yeah, so in 2019 was when the balls became kind of an issue because they were known as being juiced. And I'll tell you this, in 2019, these balls were absolutely flying. Like they were, guys were hitting homers that probably shouldn't be hitting homers, or balls were flying out that probably shouldn't be, flying out. And then COVID happened, so that kind of took away from the attention of all the baseballs. And oops, sorry. Am I still on here?
Yeah, you're good.
You're good.
Oh, I don't see the screen anymore.
Oh, uh-oh. Well, we can hear you.
All right, well, I'll keep talking.
Yeah.
Actually, I can't keep talking. Hold on one second.
Uh,
I don't know what happened here.
To Mikey's point, though, like there was a year, I think it may have been last year, where baseball admitted that they were mixing some deadened balls in with the juiced balls, and nobody knew what the hell they were getting. I mean, like it was like a pitcher could grab a ball and you can't tell it just by feeling it, and you throw it and you think you get a can of corn and the ball's flying out of the yard, or vice versa.
Yeah, and
Mikey, Mikey, that's not the first time that kind of thing has happened with like just weird things with the balls. I mean, it's not the first time. No, for sure.
And the MLB denied it. MLB used to talk about, oh no, we can't change the balls, so there's no way we can alter the balls. And now they finally they admitted it, like, no, we can. And now we've deadened the baseballs, but they haven't been able to get a grasp on, okay, how much can we deaden it, and how much can we make it live, and how much, like, where's the happy medium? And yeah, you can see the difference. You can feel the difference when you hit it. Now you're gonna have guys like, Vlad Jr. and guys that have Aaron Judge, guys that have like ridiculous power that you're not even going to see the difference in it. But the real, I guess it's real evident to me whenever you see balls being hit at 103, 104 miles an hour at the X amount of velo, because they say the standard is if you hit the ball 100 miles an hour at a 25-degree launch angle, it goes 400 feet, which is a home run in majority of the parks. Now you're seeing balls. Now look, sometimes it's windy and that's one thing, but if some balls I've been seeing hit at 103, 104 miles an hour that aren't going out of the ballpark, I think that's an issue.
You look at a guy like Cody Bellinger, Mikey, who just has this phenomenal year, and then I'm not saying it was the balls or something changing his swing or whatever it was, but he's not the only player where they've had now maybe not to his drop-off ratio, but I mean, he just dropped off. He can't hit the baseball. I mean, do you think a guy like that, who obviously has star potential, that's something with the baseballs could have affected him and it feels different to him?
Maybe. I think for him, it's a little bit more of teams found a hole in his swing and they've exploited what makes Major League Baseball so hard is, you can have one really good season and the team is the players and the scouting report's going to come out and they're going to adjust. Once they find one thing that you struggle a little bit with, they are going to hammer that home until you make the adjustment back. And, that's the difficulty of Major League Baseball. I think that's what happened is they figured out something in his swing that there's a hole in there and they exploited it. And when you continue to do that and you're working mid-season to try to fix it, which is really hard to do, that's very discouraging and it takes a lot of confidence away. Even if you have won an MVP in the past like he has, it's a hard game. And, I think he's extremely talented. He's still super young that I think that he can right the ship and figure it out. And luckily for him, he's on a team that they don't really need him to be the MVP caliber player right now because they have such a deep lineup. But, they like to have him become quote Cody Bellinger again so that, their World Series chances increase.
And you talk about those World Series. I'm sorry, Zach. You talk about the World Series champion odds, and Patrick, if you could put that that slide back up on the screen. I no, there you go. I still think the Dodgers, I think that's a great value at them at plus 475. And really, I know they probably haven't started the way they would have hoped, but one of your former teams, the White Sox, plus 1,800, I think a great value there. Both of those teams, to me, I think you could get some value out of betting them now.
Yeah, I think that the White Sox have started out a little slow. They have a bunch of injuries. They had the injury bug hit them hard last year. It's hit them hard again. They're struggling a little bit to start the season, but it's such a young part of it. Such a young season, young part of the early into the season. It's a marathon, and so I don't look too much into the April and Mays. Once June and July comes, if the teams are still struggling a little bit, that's kind of an issue. It's hard to make the run after the World Series. You don't see many Washington National runs like they did when they won the World Series. I tell you what, looking at this, I love the Blue Jays, and I'm not saying this because one of my best friends is on the team and pitching extremely well, but I don't think that there's a lineup as good as Toronto, and they have some starting pitchers that are unbelievable. I think that for some reason people aren't giving them the credit. No, they're in a tough division, but I don't think people are giving them the credit that they deserve. But plus 800 to me, for them, I think that's a great pick. I think by the All-Star break, they may be the favorites to make it there.
I got him at plus 13, so I'm glad to hear you say that.
Yeah. You got him. Yeah. I mean,
I got him.
I love their team. I think their team is they have a great mix of veterans and extremely talented young guys. I mean, it's basically the sons of all Major League All-Stars.
Yeah, but Bichette needs to start hitting now.
What's that?
Bichette needs to start hitting a little bit though.
Yeah, he will. He'll turn it on. I'm not worried about him. I think that the beauty of having such a deep lineup is you don't have to rely just on one guy struggling. The other guys pick him up, and then I don't think there's been a pitcher in the big leagues better than Kevin Gausman right now. I took him at plus 1,200 as to win the Cy Young. So that's biased, but I mean he's got some of the nastiest stuff in the big leagues.
He's got unbelievable numbers right now too. Like strikeout to walk ratio is like 40.
He only has one walk.
Yeah, one walk. Yeah. So doing really well. Blue Jays and Yankees start a series tomorrow. I think it's actually the second time they've played already, but that'll be one worth watching because obviously the Yankees are playing real well too. Let's talk a little bit about the college game, Mikey, because obviously that this is not early season now. We're coming down to crunch time. I think two weeks left in the regular season. You see LSU down there at the bottom, 35-1 to win the national championship. The one thing that sticks out to me here, obviously Tennessee has been unbelievable. They lost a series to, who was it, Kentucky this weekend?
Kentucky.
But that's the first series they've lost all year long. They've only got 5 or 6 losses. They've been unbelievable. You cannot bet a college baseball team to win the national title at plus 150 before they ever even get to Omaha. Like you got to pick somebody else.
Yeah, I don't think, to be honest with you, and we talked about this on the show last week. I don't think Tennessee wins it. I really don't. It's hard to win the College World Series. It's hard to get there, especially in college when there's so many other factors and you're dealing with younger guys and especially a team that hasn't really been there. I don't think that they win the World Series, but yeah, plus 150 to me is not worth it. Look, LSU at plus 3,500, 35-1. That's hot. I mean, they're playing really good baseball right now. I know they have some question marks and their defense isn't great, and I think that's probably why. But, I think there's other teams that you can get that have a better value than Tennessee. I know Tennessee's a sexy pick. They're steamrolling a bunch of teams, but look, they haven't faced adversity yet. And if you don't face adversity in college before the postseason, and you don't know if you can handle it, at some point they're going to go through a tough stretch, right? It happens in baseball to every team. And you just hope for them that it's not in the postseason and before you get to Omaha. But time's running out for them to start to go through some adversity, and I just don't think they're going to win it.
Talk about teams that have been there, Mikey. And what about Texas at plus 14? That's a team that I kind of have my eye on.
Yeah, Texas is good. They swing it, they pitch it pretty well. They have I think Troy Tulowitzki is their hitting coach over there.
Yeah.
Which is he's done a pretty good job over there. They have a really good team. I watched them play against LSU in Minute Maid and the Houston. I think it was a Shriners Classic, and they looked really good. I mean, they dominated LSU from start to finish that game. It was early in the season, but I think they have the players to do it, and I think they have, the staff to do it. And but it's like I said, it's a hard college baseball is so hard to bet futures on because there's so many moving parts to it.
That's what I was going to say when you're talking about Tennessee and adversity. In college baseball, once you hit the postseason, I mean, not the SEC tournament, but once you hit the NCAA tournament, one loss and you are on the brink of elimination. So if Tennessee loses a game at any point in the regional or the super regional or in Omaha, their price is suddenly going to be higher than plus 150. Like just right then and there. All you have to do is wait for them to lose one game.
Well, here's the thing is, God forbid you lose if you host a super regional and you lose that first game of the super regional, that is a hard thing to do, to go ahead and try to win, even if you are playing at home, to go ahead and win 2 games in a row going into Omaha. Your pitching staff's going to be exhausted. You're going to have to rely on your number 3 guy to be able to win a clinching game. Look, and he may be great for them. He may be the guy that they're okay having on the mound. But if I'm the manager, if I'm the coach, I don't want to have to rely on my number 3 starter to get me to Omaha. So yeah, it's a hard thing. If you win and you win all the games that you're supposed to win, and you put yourself in a position to where you don't have to fight through the losers bracket, it's a lot easier road. We were able to do that in 2009. We went all the way through Omaha, or through the postseason through Omaha, without losing a game until we lost the second game of the 3-game series in the finals to Texas. But it made our lives a lot easier. We had max amount of days off. We're able to have our number 1 and number 2 starters well rested throughout the entire postseason, and that's kind of the recipe. Skip Bareman used to always say you need 2.5 starting pitchers to win the World Series. You need two guys to be able to rely on, and you need another guy that you can get you through 5, and you just have to rely on the lineup on the 3rd game.
Let me ask you about that that season, because now we're 2 weeks away from the SEC tournament. Did you know at this point in the season that y'all had something special that year? I mean, could you feel it, or was it more like, hey, let's go see what happens. This is going to be a long road. I mean, what was the feeling like around the team?
Well, we knew from day one that we had a special team, just from the season they had the year before. They had that 23-game winning streak, and they were able to make it to Omaha, and they won a game in Omaha. We had a lot of those guys coming back. Lewis Coleman decided to stay in school and not enter the draft or not sign. And, so we had basically had 2 number 1 picks. We had Anthony Renato and Lewis Coleman, 2 number 1 starters in our rotation. And we knew from the beginning of the fall that if we stayed healthy and we did what we were supposed to do, that we were going to be there in the end. And the season kind of played out how we thought. And then Coach Maneri made a huge move with 3 or 4 series left in the SEC. He moved DJ LeMahieu off of shortstop, moved him to second, and put Austin Nola at shortstop as a true freshman, and moved Ryan Schimpf from second to the outfield, and moved Jared Mitchell from left to right, moved me from right to center. So he mixed up the outfield and infield rotation a little bit, and from that point forward, we were rolling like a well. Austin Nola made 1 error the entire season, and at shortstop, and so he just kind of solidified our defense. We could hit with the best of them. That was the one thing, and we played good defense. We just had, we didn't turn up a ton of double plays that year, and the minute they moved that, it was like it changed the whole landscape of our team. And it was after that, at that point, we knew that we were going to go. We had to play Rice and the Supers at home. They had Anthony Rendon on their team, and we swept them on the first 2 games. And after that, it was like, all right, this is the fun part now.
Yeah, and I mean, you do see underdogs make runs in the College World Series, and so LSU at 35-1. Maybe don't be scared of it.
I mean, look, at 35-1, that's not a bad. They're playing really good. I think they're gonna need a number 2 starter to step up and give them some meaningful innings in the postseason. And look, not just talking on LSU as far as LSU goes. I'm talking about really anyone going into the postseason. Baseball is a funny sport, and it's a momentum sport, and you could go all season and you may not have that number 2 guy, and then all of a sudden he pitches, this guy comes in, and you give him an opportunity, and whoever it may be throws on Saturday, and he throws 6 innings, and he has a great start, and he throws another good start, and he starts to feel something, and something clicks. He can ride that momentum through the postseason. It can get you to Omaha, and it's a momentum sport. It's a momentum game, and if you have a guy that something clicks at the right time, and you get hot at the right time, I think that can carry you a long way.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things too where if you get a guy like that, you don't like nobody has a book on him, right? Like nobody's had time to watch film on it or whatever, and you can certainly take advantage of that. So Mikie Mahtook, former LSU star, and we'll say we're not going to say ex Major League Baseball player yet, but on hiatus Major League Baseball player. Before we let you go, Mikie, I'm going to get your take on the NBA playoffs because we talked about that on your show a lot last week. Here are your futures odds. Where's the value in your eyes on this list?
You know what? I honestly think the value is. I don't want to say the Sixers because I don't believe they can do it. But look, if James Harden plays the way he played, if he's back, which I don't know where that came from, I'm mad that he did it because he lost me money. But if he can play like that, they have a chance. I really think that the Celtics and the Heat at plus 700, the way they play defense, I think they have a legitimate shot. I think that the Bucks kind of bullied the Celtics a little bit last game, but the way both those teams play defense, I think they have an opportunity to make a run. I think Phoenix is going to be there at the end. It's going to be, as far as value, I think the Celtics and the Heat right there at plus 700 to me is a good value pick.
Yeah, I like your thought on the Sixers also because I'm with you. I don't think they can win it, but if James Harden is going to become James Harden of 3 years ago, that changes the equation. Now, one game is one game.
I don't want to be a prisoner of the moment. I do not want to be a prisoner of the moment, but I mean, he almost put up a triple-double.
Because he actually tried, Mikie. It was one of the few games where he actually started moving around and tried.
It's the postseason.
What if that's what he's going to do? Yeah, what if he's going to start trying?
He must have bet on himself.
Hey,
yeah.
I'm just kidding. That's a joke, by the way.
I think you should be able to bet on yourself. You should only.
I 100% agree.
You should only get penalized if you bet against your team. If you bet for your team, go for it.
100% agree.
Makes you more motivated, right?
That's a finicky. That's a fickle. That's a tricky situation there. I get that, but if you're betting for your team, go for it.
Or especially if you're
just to leave that one.
No, especially if you're not betting on anything that has to do with your team. If you're playing for the Cubs and you're betting on a West Coast Angels Mariners game, who cares? I mean, that's.
I mean, yeah, I agree. It's you can't rate. I mean, it's hard. It's gonna be hard.
You just play one of those teams, or you got a buddy on one of those teams who says there's a flu going through the clubhouse. I don't know.
Yeah, ask Calvin Ridley how that went.
Yeah,
I'm not.
It becomes an awfully slippery slope.
Did he win?
No, he lost. I think he lost.
It is a big parlay thing. He had no chance to win. He tried.
Well, that's a rookie bettor. He didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah.
This is fun.
Obviously.
Plus 2,500. I can win this. Okay, I'm gonna bet that. I'm gonna do all that. Okay.
Yeah, they did like a 10-leg parlay or something.
And then you put $1,100 on it too.
Yeah. That is a facepalm emoji right there. That's just not good. Well, Mikie Mahtook, we thanks for joining us, man.
Well, I got a question for y'all. What do y'all have? What do y'all have this for these two games tonight?
Y'all don't have to ask me who I like in Boston, Milwaukee. I've been on Boston,
I like Boston
just
tonight.
about every game.
I have them as our top play for daily best bet. So yeah, I would say I'll take the Boston money line.
But I'm with Jim. I like Memphis.
Mikie, here's a reason to take Milwaukee because I like Boston too. So all three of us like Boston. So it's a perfect opportunity to take Milwaukee.
I put money on Milwaukee. The line was at -1, obviously, but it's a pick 'em. So I bet Milwaukee. I also went Golden State. Now, listen, I know 10.5. Was it 10.5 or 10?
10.
The line?
It's 10 right now.
It's 10, and that's a lot of points. So I think I'm going to be watching that game pretty closely. I think I'm going to get a lot more live betting in that game. But
sure.
I don't see how without Ja that they can score. I just don't.
18-4 without Ja this year.
I know. 18-4. I know everybody keeps telling me that. It's playoffs
Maybe
time.
It's the under.
I don't know. Maybe it is the under. Maybe it's the under.
Maybe so. But you're right. When a spread that big,
my bet of the day yesterday was over Sixers.
I'm sorry, Jim. And this is where you kind of like betting on the underdog. If you get Memphis plus 10, and Memphis gets out to a 23-9 lead or so. I mean, they were out to a lead actually in Saturday's game. They were out to a 20-9 lead or something. And all of a sudden that spread goes down to Memphis plus 2. now you have that big fat middle you go for.
That's what we talked about. That's your move. That's what you like to do.
Yeah, you get that big fat middle, and you can really be in good shape.
Yep.
You can catch Mikie on Mic'd Up. That's Mike with a K on Mondays and Wednesdays at 11 a.m. And also at 4:30 p.m. on Fridays, live from Uncle Earl's restaurant. So, Mikie, we'll hopefully be seeing more of you.
Absolutely. Anytime you want me on, if y'all need some baseball insight, I'm not gonna give you picks. I'll give you the baseball insight, and y'all can give me the picks. How about that?
It's a deal.
That sounds good.
All right, deal.
Absolutely. All right, we'll see you later, Mikie.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, guys.
All right. That's Mikie Mahtook, former LSU baseball star and former major leaguer. And we appreciate him being here. That was great.
Yeah,
it was
wonderful.
Really fun having him on.
Yeah, great insight, Zach. And you talk about especially this college baseball and you relive those things. I think it's a perfect example of, like he talks about it, whoever gets on a hot streak in college baseball. That's why we've said it for weeks now. I think all of us have said it on the show that you can't bet Tennessee at that number because, you don't know who's going to go on a hot streak. It happens every year. So, more often than not, some team's going to go on a roll. To me, you watch the conference tournaments, and that's kind of when they start, right? And like Mikie said, if you can see who's got that second or third pitcher, whoever looks best in pitching and is starting to put it together a little bit, then maybe make a little run on them.
Even then, two things. Fresno State and Coastal Carolina have both won College World Series titles in the last 15 years. So that just goes to show you, man. I'm not saying good teams don't win. Vandy's won it, obviously. Oregon State, who's second on that list, has won national championships. LSU, obviously. It does happen. But it's kind of like March Madness. You just can't. It might even be worse than March Madness as far as, you don't want to bet favorites.
Nothing's worse than March Madness for you because Kansas won the national championship.
Did that really happen? Do we have to? You have to bring
we were
that
there.
up.
You were there.
Yeah. We're going to change the subject. You're watching Bayou Bets on bet.nola.com. We're going to wrap the show up with a little football talk, as we like to do. The New Orleans Breakers win again. They beat the Houston Gamblers 23-16, and they face the New Jersey Generals on Saturday. So, guys. New Orleans still the second favorite, just behind Birmingham, who's the one team that's beat them so far this year. Have you seen enough USFL, Jim, to actually be an expert now, you think?
Well, experts, we could always call ourselves experts. So, yeah, sure. I'm an expert. I'm an expert. But I'll
still
say
so much
that
confidence.
And I will say that I'm in the plus territory when it comes to USFL betting. I did have the Breakers under yesterday, which they just slipped in there a half a point, beat it by half a point. And if you bet unders throughout this entire USFL campaign, you have made money. Now, that usually turns around. I think that is going to turn around a little bit as these offenses finally start to get used to what we're trying to do. But the Breakers have played outstanding defense. And it's shown by yesterday, when you commit 4 turnovers and still find a way to win, and the other team commits no turnovers, and you still win, it shows how good this Breakers team is. And so I think they're the best team in the league right now. Birmingham is really good as well. But I think you're going to see this Breakers team in there at the end.
Spencer, have you played any USFL DFS yet?
No, not yet. I'll tell you what, I finally watched the Breakers yesterday, and glad to see that they came back. But, man, the quarterback was struggling there, throwing some picks. So, wouldn't have wanted him for DFS.
He came through when it counted
yesterday. But, yeah, he did. He threw that late touchdown, so he redeemed himself. But it was overall a rough day for him.
Yeah, he's been a little turnover prone.
Kyle Sloter, yeah, he was. There's a reason why he's bounced around in NFL preseason camps and things like that, and I think it is because of the turnover bug. But there's no question that I think there's zero question he's the best quarterback in this league right now, and that includes Shea Patterson, who's looked awful for the Michigan Panthers in the early part of this season. Maybe he'll turn around, maybe he won't. But and to me, in a league like this, when you can overcome things in the NFL when you don't have a really good quarterback sometimes, and you have a great defense, not all the time. But in this case, I think the Breakers have a really good quarterback, and I think they have an excellent defense. I think they're the best defense in the league. think that's why they have a chance to really to do well with this thing, and why I think they're better than Birmingham, because Birmingham's defense is not as good as the Breakers at all. It's not. I don't even think it's close.
And in Kyle Sloter's defense, by the way, that really bad game he had against Birmingham, he didn't have a chance. I mean, the offensive line, that's if the Breakers don't win the championship, it'll be because of the offensive line.
Sure.
And so they need to shore that up. But I do like their team, so it'll be interesting to see. We can follow that into June, and then I think the playoffs go into July actually for the USFL, and should get us pretty close to NFL training camp. July 3rd.
July.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. So we've got that PGA Championship next week. We've got a lot to look forward to.
2 weeks. PGA. Well, we got the Byron Nelson Open this week, and then we got the PGA.
Yeah. So next week. Next week it will be PGA week, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll have and then also the Preakness.
We'll have to bring Uncle Big Nick out of the. We'll have to unwrap him. He'll have to wear what he was wearing yesterday for Mother's Day.
Oh, okay. Photos or it didn't happen.
Oh, it happened. That was a photo. It's awesome.
All right. We're about to wrap things up on Bayou Bets for this week. Spencer the Guru, you like Boston tonight. What are your final thoughts as we look forward to another week of NBA playoffs and baseball and everything else?
For sure. Yeah, we got a lot going on here, at the playoffs. And, Boston, I like them tonight. As well as have an MLB parlay pick. I got the Dodgers and Brewers parlay tonight. Both have really favorable pitching matchups, thinking that they'll both be able to get the wins. And also we got the fantasy show tomorrow, going over the NFL draft and so where the rookies landed and who got affected by that. So looking forward to that tomorrow at this time.
Jim Derry?
I don't really like anything tonight. I got to be honest. I was looking through. I'm glad it was Spencer doing the best bets today, because I don't love anything. As far as betting wise goes, I'll look again tomorrow. Even the NBA games, there's nothing that I love. I think I've already made a little bit a bet on Boston, only because I'm doing it to just because I can't help myself. I'm a degenerate. But I will say, I hope all the mothers had a great Mother's Day yesterday. It was a wonderful family day at our house. We had sports on both TVs, enjoyed it, and I hope all the watchers out there had a similar day with their moms and their friends and their family.
I just got the photo from Uncle Big Nick, and with Nick's permission, this will be making an appearance next week when we bring him on for the PGA Championships. So yes, the high culture, love it. And as Spencer said, by the way, we're back tomorrow at 3:30 for the Fantasy Roundup right here on these same social media channels on bet.nola.com.
Before you say goodbye, he looked like a giant Easter egg. That's what he looked like. What's
wrong with that?
Well, I mean, he's already round. He's got a bald head. Just never mind.
We will be back 3:30 tomorrow, the Fantasy Roundup, talking some fantasy baseball, but mostly fantasy football and where the rookies from the NFL draft fit into your fantasy football plans. So that'll be good. Spencer and I will be back for that at 3:30 tomorrow. And until then, we'll also be back Thursday for At the Book, previewing the weekend that is. And as Nick says, Mother's Day, wear pink. I like that. Pink. We had pink chest protectors and stuff yesterday, but it was glorious. My kids loved it.
And yet your wife was out of town. She probably had wonderful Mother's Day. Quiet Mother's Day.
That's right. And by the way, my 9-year-old is pitching for the first time tonight, so that's where I'm headed off to. He's gonna have his first starting pitching performance. See what happens.
All right, I'll take the -1.5. I'm going
just bet the over. Bet the over.
The Junior Ewings.
Yeah. All right. We will see you guys later. This has been Bayou Bets, brought to you by Caesar Sportsbook and Tulane Doctors. And we appreciate their sponsorship. And we will see you tomorrow for the Fantasy Roundup. For Spencer and Jim, I'm Zach Ewing. See you later.